Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We want to thank our newest Patreons.
Absolutely. We want to say a huge thank you to Ashley, John, Mike, and Jeff.
Thank you, guys, for your support. Thank you for being part of the family. And, there's a lot going on out there. This is from Kansas. Look at this photo of a tornado in Kansas here. Tacoma, Kansas. Some amazing photography. Thankfully, this is not in a populated area, but pretty spectacular, isn't it?
I know, looking at that funnel cloud, and then when you start to understand when these things come together, there's entities involved, there's elementals involved. So we're actually looking at something very beautiful, and it's multidimensional.
This is a perspective you probably will not get anywhere else. No. Anywhere else, yeah. And here is a tornado in China. This one caused a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I saw videos where it was showing bodies in the streets. Not a good situation. Again, the weather that seems to be waging war on humanity is happening on the BRICS nations as well as the NATO nations and all nations pretty much in between. As we look at some damage, it's gone to an all new level. But again, the war that's underway is it's a war against humanity, and it's a war against the planet. This is what we have to recognize. Now, this with the sound on is actually pretty terrifying, but I will leave the sound off of this and give you guys the links as always. This is over in Mexico, in Acapulco. Some intense storms with some incredible quote-unquote lightning that a lot of people have taken to be something maybe not natural, as they were talking about blue flashes in the sky that felt not like typical lightning. And so, you get people talking about aliens attacking. Is this extraterrestrial technology? What is really going on here? But the people are really panicked, and they're running, and then the power goes out.
I know. That's really horrible. And just thinking what these people may have experienced, what they did experience. I don't believe that's extraterrestrial. I believe that's ours.
And what really hit Libya? This was just an insane, kind of out of the blue storm. We knew there was the conditions for what you would call a Medicaid, but what hit Libya was so intense, and the tornado, as you could see, the winds, it just wiped everything out. And again, we don't know how many people truly are lost, but it's in the tens of thousands. We've gone to a completely different place now with all the events taking place on Earth. And as I've been saying, I kind of feel like the most challenging year is probably going to be 2024. And it does feel like we're going into that period that of the most intensity at the end of this year now. And we can see with the weather, just for instance, again, the weather, the geo, that engineering word comes after it. We do have two CMEs that did strike Earth. They produced a G3, strong geomagnetic storm. Again, all the energies coming in is awakening the DNA and changing the consciousness of the planet. And we will have more and more natural events taking place that are not necessarily augmented, to use a term, with all the technology. And right here we see the first eruption at Ruby Volcano since 1995, Northern Mariana Islands. And here we have a particular mushroom cloud, quite beautiful. And the first thing I say to Cindy is there a ship in there getting cloaked?
There's a ship in there, but the thing is it's an awfully big cloud it's a small ship. So I was kind of surprised to see that in there. Not sure what to make of it, but these days, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be close to it.
No, because these clouds are associated with severe weather, including heavy rain, downburst, and then occasionally a tornado.
Hmm.
Incus or anvil clouds. Again, it may be beautiful, could be very, very unnatural. Unnatural. And this gets me thinking again of why you see the associations of all these tragic events from a biblical perspective with the God being angry. Aha. This is Lampedusa. Lampedusa is an island. As you can see, it's basically between Tunisia and Sicily. And again, we were talking about everything going on before weather-wise. This is Libya right here, and of course, that's the boot of Italy. Lampedusa is getting invaded. I mean, massively invaded. As about 18,000 illegal migrants are on the island now. Population of the island 6,000. 3 times as many illegal migrants are on the island. Why in the world would all these people decide to hop a boat to Lampedusa? Well, look at the location. You could see this is a staging area. This is what you call a staging area. Malta is right there. Sicily's right here. Sardinia there. Again, Italy. This is, preparations for another invasion of Europe. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. 18,000, and especially when you look here, you're hard pressed to find a significant number of females. In fact, I'm not sure if I've ever seen a female amongst the people coming in off these boats. 20 boats arrived last night alone. This was just posted an hour ago. And as we're making this video, it's 4:30 a.m. and Central Time. Yes, we got up at 3 a.m., bright and shiny. What in the world could they be doing? Well, they've been sent here on purpose. This is clearly an invasion force. Clearly, 18,000, how many more are you going to have? Is it going to swell to 36,000, 50,000? I was just wondering about the history of these islands, Lampedusa and some of the other ones in the area. They saw a lot of activity during the Second World War. And again, these are staging areas. This won't be the first time that they're used as basically a place to gather your forces before attacks are launched. And this is again looking down into the Darien Gap. The reality is, why? You got to ask yourself, why is the U.S. government building camps to process millions of people to rush them into our country from other countries? Well, again, this is all part of the bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? The end of the U.S., the end of NATO as we know it. It's the great round robin. And literally, Cindy remote viewed and got that word. Round robin is exactly part of the terminology that the elites use when they talk about this program that's underway. Everybody up, everybody shift seats. Okay, now sit down. It was hitting me last night just how, again, when you talk about the U.S., and so many people would say the United States could never be invaded successfully. Never, 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 never. 400 plus million guns, 330 million citizens. Well, now there's probably 30 to 40 million illegals inside the country. You probably do have an army that outguns, at least from a numbers perspective, the active military in the U.S. at the moment. You have a lot of people that are sick and getting sicker all the time with weaker and weaker and weaker immune systems. This is part of an invasion plan. It is so clear, could not be any clearer. Meanwhile, Russia's boosting hypersonic missile production. They're also actually creating hypersonic bullets as well. And those bullets are not going to be fueled with gunpowder. It's going to be some sort of chemical reaction. And so what Cindy had gotten before was that you're going to see technology in this war that's going to blow minds. We're not going to understand what's going on. Just like they didn't understand in biblical times how to describe what was happening. So they had to say, it's the mighty ones. And then it got translated into the word God.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these technologies that I see coming out are going to replace others. I don't think it's possible that they can take all of our weaponry away from us, but they can put something in its place, and then the whatever we need to use the other weaponry can fade away. So I think that's important to understand that and have a way to reload your own stuff, have a way to keep whatever you have, whatever technology you have, keep that for you.
And again, we never advocate any sort of violence, but if you are under attack, then you do have a right to self-defense. And this is somebody speaking that was bullied as a kid by a bunch of kids. So, my mom allowed me to go and start taking karate classes. That's just the way it is. When you're getting attacked, you got to do what you can. But this attack that's going on is one in which it's good to get out of the way of the attack as much as possible. Because part of the plan is also to drag us down into a lower frequency, just like them. And that's what war does. War, it destroys souls, really. It truly does. And it may take individuals decades or even hundreds of years to get out of a stuck position when you leave the body, going through the trauma that war inflicts.
Yeah, I don't know how much so many people really understand about the trauma and what it does do to the soul. It can stick the soul in a place where it doesn't realize that it can get out, because what's overarching in that person's soul is still pain. And we need to resolve as much pain as possible. We need to resolve as much trauma as possible while we are in these bodies, because that's what allows us to really see the open doors when we're not in these bodies. So hence, making your spiritual practice should be number one.
Absolutely. I've been to some haunted, very, very haunted areas. And really, when you get down to it, everywhere is haunted, per se. Everywhere is. But I've been to the fort in St. Augustine, Florida, for instance, and took a photo, and it was just, there was more orbs than you could count. More orbs than you could possibly count. And so many are still the spirits of different people that died in battle in these areas. So again, our number one priority must always be to not get caught up in the negative vibrations and frequencies. And so, that is a difficult task, but it is ours in these times. Armenia asked the U.S. to intervene in Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Washington must stop Azerbaijan's aggression against the breakaway region. Now, this is all over the Russian papers. So this is something that it can expand, and it can create another front as the world is getting ready for that WW3 that's not going to last very long, but it is going to be very intense from everything that is planned. I think we're going to literally, you might have 12 to 15 months of just absolute abject chaos, and then the world will awaken wondering, how did that happen? And now what? And again, this is what they're using to implement all the new systems. And this is what I was talking about. Magic bullet, Russian gunsmith tests hypersonic sniper rounds. Yeah, no more gunpowder. It's actually a chemical reaction. When you see these people that are all lined up, they've been promised things. They've been getting paid. And again, they're being used to push out an indigenous population. The Europeans pushed the people that we would call the Native Americans into tiny little camps, into reservations. Look at the Trail of Tears. This is going to be done to us in the U.S. and other NATO countries. This is part of their bigger plan. So, again, we have to be aware of this. We have to be aware of our situation, because what they do is they lift up one group to suppress another. And then that causes hatred and anger and the desire to get back. And, again, it's a never-ending cycle until we step out of it emotionally and try to get ourselves as out of, any sort of obvious conflict zone as much as possible. When you think about all the people, I thought this was a good post, and this is something more for Patreon. You see all the deaths that are certified as cancer, but was it really cancer? That's a question to look a little deeper. What really caused the problem in the first place? Our society is so unbalanced, and we're going to look back. We really are going to look back at modern medicine and think, how could we have just accepted? It's still so Stone Age. Doesn't matter what terms you use. And again, they like to use terms using Latin as a root to just confuse the average person. Oh, well, I can't understand what they're saying, so I must just trust them. They know better. Well, we should know better not to blindly trust anybody.
When we're going through this life, looking at things and understanding what went wrong and how, and if you get sick, you have to become somewhat of your own body mechanic. You have to start to troubleshoot your own problems, and you don't just start with the problem and try to fix the problem. That's what Western medicine does. They look at the problem, they put a Band-Aid on it. We have to go back and we have to understand what created that problem. So just like with any fine-tuned running engine, when something goes wrong, you can't just look at that thing that went wrong. You have to go all the way back down the line and see where things started to fray. And we all have that ability. We have the capacity. But what I'm seeing now more than ever is they are taking down this knowledge and this understanding and this all the very important information you need to know to go back and figure out what started to go wrong in the first place. And not only that, there's so many times when herbal remedies are put out there, and I think they're wonderful and great, but there's just a slight little alteration, like some supposed minor detail that you don't know that becomes huge. So one of them is sugar. If you're taking in sugar and you're trying to do herbal remedies, that's really going to make it difficult for the cells to do what they need to do, because the cell simply fills up full of sugar and that's it. It doesn't have any room for anything else to get in there. I mean, that's a detail, but it's huge. So we have to go back and figure these things out for ourselves and then share far and wide. When something works for you, oh my gosh, get that information out there to as many as you can, because they're taking it away from us.
Yeah, we were cleaning out a storage area yesterday as we've completed a move. And there was a book that's like 140 years old. I was delighted to see it and can't wait to go through it, talking about history and things. Because when we look back, it's fascinating to see where we've come from. And then it's fascinating to see where we are. Because again, the history is constantly being revised. When you get revised editions of different books, a lot of times things are left out that, they could be very, very interesting. Let's leave it at that. So they have this online safety bill to become law and crack down on harmful social media content. Yeah, this is going through. And, again, the UK, all our friends in UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, they've been a little bit more locked down. They've had a little bit more of a tighter leash on them than we have in the US, but all that will change with the new ownership quote unquote, the new possession and the new rulers coming in, so to speak. And here you could see who Russell Brand is buddies with, and again, sometimes I don't know if people listen clearly enough to what we're saying, because there was a comment like, Russell Brand is one of them. Well, you don't get to that position without becoming one of them. It's like an impossibility to get to these levels without at least agreeing to certain things. This is what the system does. It corrupts, absolutely. Now, you can have people that will, because of the energies coming in the ascension process, which is quickening to levels that are blinding, you will have people that no longer can go along with what they originally agreed with. So you can have that going on as well. And it's really just a matter of feeling the frequencies and the vibrations and sensing, which we can all do. Spend more time in your regular meditative practices, in your mind, body, breath practices. Because again, as we go up through the ascension cycle, everything is going to become less dense. And boy, humanity could really benefit from a little less density.
They really have so many programs, so many social programs that are really specifically designed to kind of hurt us, hurt us like a flock of birds. They put this information out there and we flock this way, and then they might throw some information up and we're going to flock the other way. But that's why we always talk about finding ourselves, find out who you are, what really works for you, and are you being influenced by external mediums? We cannot continue to allow that to happen, because it's deliberately put out there to trip us up socially, to trip us up morally, to trip us up in a way where they now have control. This has just got to stop.
This has to just stop too.
Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, this is Zelensky trying to get some more money at the UN today. Yeah. How could anybody take this seriously? How could anybody believe that you're looking at a war hero? I mean, this whole thing has been nothing but an acting job. Yeah, this is what they used to do to relieve pressure on the brain. Again, this is what we're going to look back at modern medicine and think that it was as barbaric as full frontal lobotomies, as what we have going on here. Trepanation, absolutely. Drilling right through the crown chakra too. I mean, again, this is so purposeful. Putting leeches on people, bleeding them until they're dead. It's just insanity. It's just insanity. And the world has gone along with the insanity. We should listen to Mom in the first place. And again, Mom has been written out of the fundamentalist mindset of so much of humanity. And it's no wonder we're left with what we have.
You know what's wrong with a well-tuned immune system is it's free. It's free. It doesn't cost us anything. We don't have to go stand in line and wait for anything. It's something that we can obtain and we can keep and hold to ourselves, and actually teach other people to get a fine-tuned immune system. And that's the thing that's going to start breaking this control grid down if we can start taking our health back.
Absolutely. So again, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Be as prepared as you can be. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.